Whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting out, maintaining the energy and motivation to write a novel or a freelance project can be challenging. But don't worry, I've got you covered with some practical tips and inspiring insights on how to fuel your creative energy. Welcome to Creative Cynergy, where wellness and creativity meet to help you get healthier and more productive. I am Coach Cyn, your guide on this wellness journey. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that many authors struggle with, and that is actually fueling your creative energy. Maintaining and boosting your energy to keep your creative juices in flow is not always easy. Today we're going to be going over exactly why your energy tanks when you need it the most, and some tips that you can use in your day-to-day activities to help you stay in that creative flow. So grab your favorite beverage, which is most probably coffee or a strong tea, and let's dive right into the show. So for my fellow authors out there, we all know that writing a book is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires consistent effort, dedication, and most importantly, as we said, energy. But how do you keep that energy flowing, especially when life gets busy or writer's block sets in? The way you feel creates the life around you. If you're hangry and someone cuts you off in traffic, you'll likely act differently than if you were full and satiated. The same is true of writing a novel. If you're sluggish from lack of energy, it will translate to the page. First of all, it's important to acknowledge something. Creativity isn't a constant stream. We all have our ups and downs, and that's perfectly okay, but there are ways to manage your energy levels to maximize those creative highs. You know what I'm talking about, when your muse is actually speaking to you right in your ear, sitting on your shoulder, and you are in a constant state of flow. That's what we want every time we sit down to do a creative project, and we want to minimize the lows. So here are some strategies to help you stay energized and motivated throughout your writing journey. The first thing we need to do is understand your energy cycles. Now, I know that's going to sound like it's going to get a little bit woo-woo and a little too deep for this type of a podcast, but bear with me. Understanding your personal energy cycles is crucial. So just ask yourself, are you a morning person, or do you find your creative peak in the late hours of the night? Pay attention to when you feel the most alert and inspired. For some, the early morning hours are golden, while others might find their muse after the sun sets when everybody else is asleep. If you're not sure when you feel the most creatively inspired, here's what you can do. You can try keeping a journal for a week. Start noting down when you feel the most energetic and when you feel the least energy. This can help you to start identifying patterns and plan your creative tasks accordingly. Remember, it's not about forcing creativity. It's about working with your natural rhythms to help you find your creative spark. So the important part is going to be setting a routine. First and foremost, let's talk about the importance of setting a routine. It's establishing a regular schedule that can help you build momentum. And I've spoken on this before. The more little tasks that you accomplish throughout the day, they build on each other, and that actually starts to build momentum throughout the week, month, and so forth. So when you start into a routine and you make it a habit, whether it's early in the morning or during lunch breaks, late at night, just find the time that works best for you and stick to it, because consistency is key. The next important piece of this puzzle, and something that really goes hand in hand with the whole Creative Cynergy podcast experience, we're going to be talking about nutrition and hydration and how those play key roles in your overall health and wellness and energy. So let's discuss the power of a healthy lifestyle. Your physical well-being, it directly impacts your mental energy. Mind and body go hand in hand. So you're going to have to make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating nutritious meals, and staying hydrated. Remember, a healthy body supports a healthy mind, so also regular exercise can also boost your energy levels and improve your focus. How do you actually fuel your body and mind, particularly your mind in this instance, and getting into the energy and the creative flow that you want to complete that novel or that creative project that you're working on? Well, as I said, what you eat and drink has a significant impact on your energy levels. But staying hydrated is key. Dehydration can lead to fatigue and lack of focus. What you can do is you can keep a water bottle handy and start to sip it throughout the day. In fact, I've known people who have, and a lot of them come with the markings on it themselves, on the bottle, on the side, to show you how much water that you're actually drinking. But if that's not working for you, or your particular water jug doesn't have it, I know the really popular ones these days, they just have the fancy little straw, etc. You can't really see how much you're drinking. Get a marker. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to mark up that pretty little Stanley cup. Get a marker and mark the water levels so you know exactly how much you've been drinking throughout the day, so that you can stay, like I said in the last tip, consistent, and you can build on that, and you can keep your hydration in check. And this is when it's hot, when it's cold. A lot of people don't really understand that when the cold weather hits, that can also lead to hydration, even though you think, well, when it's summer and it's hot, that's the main season where hydration is going to be a factor. But in the colder months, your body actually craves water more because you're getting drier air. So just ensure that you're getting enough hydration. And when I say hydration, that means water, folks. It doesn't mean coffee. It doesn't mean soda. It doesn't mean alcohol. All of those things are counterintuitive to being hydrated. So water, water, water. It's also great for the skin. Dehydration leads to fatigue, and it impacts your focus. So you want to keep a water bottle handy and sip it throughout the day. When it comes to food, I'm going to tell you to opt for balanced meals that have a mix of protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. Now, what are healthy fats? You want to think avocado. You want to think nuts, stuff like that. The unhealthy or the saturated fats like butter, those are the ones that you want to stay away from, or at least have in moderation. The healthy fats are the ones that are going to give you your body actually does crave fats, but it has to be the healthy fats. We'll get deeper into that topic later on, but just for now, make sure you're like the good old plates in school where everything was balanced out. You want to have a balance to your meals. Don't just grab the greasy hamburger and call it a day. Make sure it's, especially with the protein, most people are lacking protein in their diet. And protein will fuel you for much, much longer than, say, if you just had a quick snack thinking, well, I'll just, eat this candy bar or this protein bar that's supposed to be protein, but it actually is more candy than protein. And it'll give me a quick adrenaline shot, and then I can go on about my day. Well, inevitably, what's going to happen is you're going to crash several hours later. But if you have like a balanced meal, or even if it's just a nice portion of protein, that's going to keep you sustained much, much longer than a bag of chips or a quick fix, if you know what I'm saying. So think nuts, seeds, fruits and vegetables, and whole grains. Great snack would be cut up fruits and vegetables, carrots, celery with hummus or peanut butter and apples. There's your balance in there, particularly with the peanut butter. There's your healthy fats. And then the nuts as well will have protein. So just try to make better choices throughout your day rather than thinking, I'm tired, let me grab a soda, because it's absolutely counterintuitive to what you're trying to do. So avoid the sugar highs and crashes by steering clear of too many sweets and processed foods, and you'll be on the right track. But what goes with proper nutrition, and what have I been touting this whole time with the Mind Body Wellness? It is physical activity or exercise, what I like to just call movement, because if you say working out or exercising, for some reason people shut down, they run for the hills, they run for their TV remote. So movement, we're going to call it movement. So this is another great way to boost your energy. And you're going to be saying to me, but when I work out, it's tiring. Yes, it is. Yes, it is at first. But you don't need to run a marathon or dive into a CrossFit class throwing, the heaviest weights around. A simple short walk can do wonders for your energy. So how does this actually work? How does exercising actually increase your energy? Well, the body is an amazing thing. And when you exercise, it increases blood flow to the brain, which releases a chemical called endorphins. And this actually can help you clear your mind. And not only that, but when you step away from anything that takes a lot of mental clarity and you put your focus into something physical, that little shift actually will help you to focus more, because now, say you're in a workout session, you're lifting weights, your mind is now focused on the physical activity rather than the mental component. So it actually it's still working, but it has a reprieve from the really deep thoughts, because your focus is more on what your body is doing, and your mind will actually, you'd be surprised, it gets cleared out. And when you get back to your seat to do your project, you feel clearer and you feel more energized. So whether it's yoga, dancing, or you get up and do a quick jog around the block, just find something that you enjoy and make it a part of your daily routine. And this is like the whole component of this particular Creative Cynergy podcast. The whole reasoning behind it is because when we as authors or creative thinkers are sitting for hours on end, we don't get up and we start to actually get more and more sluggish. I don't know about you, but I've gone through like an 8-hour shift where I started out sitting upright doing my work, and by the end of the day, my ass was almost on the floor out of the chair because I'd slumped down in it so far. And that is because my energy was waning. So the right thing to do here is to break up those work sessions with some kind of movement. Like I said, movement, physical activity. It clears your mind, gets you energized, and gets you back into a state of creative flow. So on that line of thinking, the next tip that I have for you is a mental break and a rest. Because let's talk about the importance of rest and mental breaks. Our minds are not designed to focus so intensely for long periods without taking a break. Some of us haven't learned that. I know that when you were building your business or your brand or your book, that you want to go for hours on end, and as they say, burn the midnight oil, but it's counterintuitive, because when you burn out, say, let's take this literally. So you have a candle that's burning, and if it's a tall candle and it burns all the way down to its stump and burns out, what happens? The candle doesn't grow back up. It actually is snuffed out, and then you have to get a new candle. Well, you can't get a new brain, at least not yet. So we want to take care of the one that we have, especially as creative thinkers, because as I said in the last podcast, you are special and your art and your talent is needed. So let's not forget the importance of taking regular breaks, because writing for too long without a break can lead to burnout, just as I said. And all you need to do is schedule regular breaks so that you rest and recharge. And as you take these breaks, all you got to do, you use this time to do something else that you enjoy, like take a walk outside, walk your dog, walk your cat. I don't know. Listening to music or meditating. Both those last two, those are really great refreshers for the mind. Music is so healing. So if you're a musician out there listening to this podcast, God bless you, keep going, because music does so much good. And then meditating is something that I want to explore more, because the benefits of it, if you go and watch the Limitless show with Chris Hemsworth, they dive into the benefits of meditation, which has gotten me thinking to get involved in that myself. So all good things to try, but you want to just use this time, you step away from your work and just focus on something else that you enjoy doing. I'm not saying that you don't enjoy doing your work. I mean, I love my writing. when I'm in a good state of flow, yeah, I want to sit there and finish it to the point where I'm hunched over a laptop on my bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. But that doesn't mean that that I should be doing that. We forget to take care of ourselves because we are our own harshest critics, creatives. But like I said, your mind is irreplaceable, as is your talent, and we want to preserve it as best we can. And a refreshed mind is a more productive and creative one. So just incorporate short breaks into your work sessions, and maybe take 25 minutes of focused work followed by a 5-minute break. This is actually incredibly effective if you do it routinely. But don't also forget the power of a good night's sleep. And I've mentioned this before, not just getting enough sleep, but getting deep and restful sleep will recharge the mind and the body so they can work in synergy to start getting back into your creative projects the way that you want them to unfold. So aim for 7 to 9 hours of really deep, nice, restful sleep to ensure your brain is well rested, and then the next morning you're ready to create, regardless if that means you create first thing in the morning or if you create later on at night. You'll still reap the rewards of that restful night's sleep. And finally, let's talk a little bit about inspiration and motivation. Because when you're feeling lethargic, or you're actually in your head a little bit too much, and this can also bring on, why your muse is not talking to you and your body is not optimized with your brain, is because you're too in your head, but you're not in your creative space. You might be lacking motivation or inspiration, and more often than not, say you sit down to write that book and you're just staring at a blank page for like 10 minutes because nothing is coming out of you. You know what I'm talking about. This is why I specifically am relating this information to writers and creative thinkers, because we have very specific nuance to our art and our work. There's personal trainers out there and fitness individuals, and there's a lot of self-help gurus and so forth. They don't understand the creative mind. They have creative assets of their own that they're using in these different areas of their own podcasts and so forth, but the creative mind works in a different way. This is why I always struggle with 9-to-5 jobs that don't understand that aspect of writing. They think, well, you're a writer, you're a machine, you can just riff this off real quick. And now they have machines that they think can do that, not understanding the subtle nuances of words and how the right string of words can actually affect the human mind that's reading them in a way that it creates images and imagery. And one of the greatest compliments that I ever got is when I was doing a convention, and usually my conventions are 2 or 3 days in a row. So you meet people, you meet readers during day one, and they might actually come back the next couple of days. And I had a gentleman who had bought one of my novels, Lucky Sevens, which is book 1 in my Vegas Vigilantes series. And he bought it on day one, and then he came back to my table the next day, and he told me he had started reading the book, and he was, giving my words back to me verbatim of a particular scene, and then he was describing it to me the exact same way that I had seen it when I was laying it out on the page. So if anyone tries to tell you that there's not magic in what we do as writers, tell them go fuck themselves. Tell them they're full of shit. They don't understand. But as an author for a very long time and a personal trainer for a very long time, this is why I've merged mind and body in synergy to actually touch those aspects, because like I said, I've been there, I've been through it with you. or I've been through it myself, and now I'm here to go through it with you to sustain our creative output. But as I was saying, sometimes we just lack inspiration and motivation. For instance, right now, it's been a really long, hard couple of months for me. I have a couple of fiction series that I've had on the back burner that I've been wanting to get to and work on. I just haven't had the heart to do so. Because another part of what we do, whether you write or you design or you paint or so forth, we always want it to be perfect, don't we? We always see it in our mind's eyes one way, but it really doesn't have to be perfect. And this is something that I've learned as I'm building my other business, my wellness brand. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Because the more reps you put in, and that is, yes, a weightlifting term, but this is why it translates here. The more reps you put into your work, the better you will get at it. Chuck Norris had a great thing in one of his books. He was talking about the unknown and experiencing different things. And he said, once you pierce the veil of uncertainty, you now have something to draw from the next time that you face this similar situation. Now I'm paraphrasing, but essentially what he was saying is the unknown is no longer unknown because you've actually gone forth and tried it. But getting back to lacking motivation, what you can do in that respect is just start to surround yourself with things that inspire you. Other books, music, like I said before, artwork, get out in nature, or conversations with fellow creatives, which seems so hard for some reason. We all live in this bubble now on the internet. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about full face-to-face conversations. There's a lot of writers groups scattered across the country. I wish there was more. Where I'm based out of Sin City, we don't really have a lot that I find too useful. But if you can find, or even create one yourself, little writing community that you can bounce ideas back and forth, or gather any creatives, because I have a very good friend who's a graphic designer, and she's really smart. Not just in designing, but in a lot of different things. And this is why I love having a back and forth dialogue with her, because it brings different things out of each other, when you get different points of view, and then you can really start to get motivated from that conversation. The other thing you can do is to start setting small, achievable goals, SMART goals, that you can tick off day, week, month, year, but set these small achievable goals, and it'll start getting your motivation. Like I said before, the momentum of actually following through on those goals will build momentum for you, and that will keep your motivation level much higher than if you are not accomplishing anything. Because, like I said, you don't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. And you can reward yourself to completion of whatever that task was, which is another thing that you can do, is celebrate your progress. It is very important to celebrate the small wins. We'll dwell on one negative thing that happened for days, but we won't look at that one thing that we did that we should be proud of and celebrating. We don't give it enough attention. We just move on to the next thing. So sit with your wins, no matter how small, and remember that creativity is a journey, not a destination. And I've heard this a lot lately. It's who you become in the journey that is actually the foundation of life. It's not actually the destination. It's who you become along the way. But another, crucial aspect of this is to set realistic goals. Break them down into manageable chunks, like bite-sized pieces that don't feel overwhelming, so you can accomplish them, like I said, and you can check that box and say, that's done. But also, yes, what's next? Because if you want to lay out like a 30, 60, 90-day plan, if that helps you, then yeah. But instead of aiming to write an entire chapter in one sitting, which leads to, like we were saying, burning out that candle, what you can do is set smaller, more achievable targets, like, say, writing 500 words today, or it doesn't even have to be a word count. I don't know why we get obsessed with a word count. If you just say, I'm going to write every day at 1 p.m., and you stick with that for a week, you'd be surprised that starts to build momentum, like I was talking about before, because you've sustained that, like getting back into a workout routine. If you accomplish that one full week of it, then you're going to be like, yeah, hey, look, I did that. Like Chuck Norris said, I did that. That's accomplished. Now I can keep doing that. And hey, guess what? After a little while, now I can level up as well. But celebrate your progress, no matter how small it is. Because each step forward is a step closer to completing your book. That's all of today's episode of Creative Cynergy. Hope you found these tips helpful and somehow they inspire you to keep creating and moving forward with your passion and your projects. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave me a comment or review, and share it with your fellow creatives. But until next time, stay inspired and keep those creative fires burning. And as always, live your dreams.